times in total, so wouldn't be surprised if it gets removed here. No, Nuck, okay. Soniqs not wanting to deal with that. It's actually a very common ban that we are seeing nowadays, Nuck to be removed.
Well, do you have what they banned earlier on in the day on this map? Because we haven't actually mentioned it. I was going to wait until we got into the map itself, because we find ourselves, obviously... Well, quickly have a Butcher's. Quickly have a look as I regale people. Yeah, Butcher's look. About the fact we're back in Chalet. We're back on the map that Soniqs played as the opening gambit today. It's a good map for Soniqs. It was a better map for M&M, and that was sort of displayed in the 7-3. We're back here, back on the sides. Soniqs onto this defense, you know, and it was a bit of a terrifying tour de force that was played from the opposite end. They obviously started on their attack last time around. They get a bit of a different taste here, so we'll get a bit more of a full stretch, but when we get this fourth one, has it been replicated?
Well, I mean, if it's a Valkyrie, it's the ban that M&M would have gone through, so it's indeed the ban that M&M had in this Chalet map against the Soniqs that they pushed through. Actually, both the bans that M&M went for. So.
I mean, it weren't broke.
You know what? It's like M&M won the game, so if we just steal everything, including their bans, that might actually be successful for us. I pulled through.
All right. Let's get into this. And obviously, as I said, we got a smaller taste of their time on the opposite ends. It was a very well put together approach here from the side of M&M against Soniqs. They didn't do the 5 versus 1 chokes.
No.
4 versus 1 danger.
Did let it get very close, though.
They did.
I mean, no, it wouldn't be M&M without...
It wouldn't be, oh yeah.
Like heart attacks every now and then with these kind of, well, almost throws to come through.
But this is now Soniqs' moment to sort of, I guess, show us at first the other half of their game properly when they haven't been knocked around a little. On second, to see if they can try and improve on the first.
Well, they kind of have to, because otherwise, you know, people at home will be questioning, why did they go to Chalet twice? And no worries, there's very competent teams behind them, like analysts and coaches. They know exactly why they're going back towards a map like Chalet. So there is no need to question it. But if they lose it again, people will always start to have a little bit of hesitation in that one. By the way, the Soniqs are starting off on the defense here, and we are in Snowmobile to start things off. Top floor is usually going to be contested, well, ever so slightly, at least by the attack, because you work yourselves top to down. And the question is, how heavily is Soniqs going to be holding on to that top floor and the first floor as well?
Yeah, it's something that I guess we'll get a proper taste of as things start to progress here. They've got themselves a couple of pocket C4s. You're looking at some control here from the side of Black Dragons. That stretch, that idea of the lion, the push behind it, and the glass, not the most common scene, but when going for a take down below, it can be huge. It starts at the top, though. They're trying to pitter-patter their way down here. Eyes and angles onto blue. The player's already retreated. There is one sitting around onto Solarium on the back end. And it's Geo that's sort of got himself a bit of a stretch. The roaming mute, it's not the most common to see on a lockdown, but they're going to see if they can try and put the pressure, the glass over the top. That is something that I like to see. It's new, it's a little bit fresh, and you can see why they're doing it because, well, they're opening up for exactly that cover, and they're sort of playing away from that mirror without mirror being able to stop it.
Yeah, that's it, right? You want to make sure you do not have to worry about that mirror window, but there is going to be extra Excaliburs needed. One got shut out, the second one as well, so there needs to be another set of Excaliburs being shot on, but as long as you do not have control fully, you might just be tossing utility at it without really getting any form of return out of it.
Gunner, he's still sort of waiting for a first bit of presence. He hears those Excaliburs start to, again, get close. The pop of that. Geo snuck himself closer towards the half wall onto Piano. They've cleared a pocket of space, Black Dragons. They're sort of saying, well, we want this column, we want pressure onto Fireplace, and we might just try and stick a plant at this point. Ion's going to try and get the lockdown over the opposite side. Basetto's digging his way closer and closer towards the breach. As said, this is going to be the plan A. When you got a glass, you got the smokes on the cover. It is this lean in, but Grixer gets the take from the back end. That's the glass gone. They're just going to have to trust the cover in the smoke and the E1D behind it. Basetto, he's tucked around onto the lockers. He's got the kid in pocket. He's not entirely sure about going for the plant, but Grixer just has to make a movement to get this take.
Needs to run for it, doesn't see it, they know the plant's happening and it's gone down. 45 seconds. Now 2 players trying to rush back up to that main staircase as Kansan finds one. Nade takes down Gunnar though, brings it to a 4-on-3. Time still ticking down, 30 seconds left on the clock, but a great kill from Kansan onto Iron. That is going to be giving him an opportunity to breathe right here as Rexon is going for the defuse in the meantime, but has to go off. It's going to provide some support with Nade coming in the back right now.
There it is, the off-piste plant is going to cause them problems. They just had to retake stairs. It worked in terms of getting the kit down. It was a good play. You could see as soon as they had the idea, Soniqs were going to see if they could swing into it. But also in that moment in time, they didn't quite know where the right angle was. At that point, you just have to get the control of the stairs. It becomes really tricky to swing onto that exact angle if you do not have either the stairs control or the drop down on the hatch, which we saw in the little box.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, they did the best they could there, Black Dragons. They managed to get that plan down, but unfortunately not properly set up enough afterwards to maintain the advantage they were just able to create for themselves, which was flipping the 6 teammate of time into their own favor. And with that, it is going to be the Soniqs to take a first round, quite convincingly as well. Now are looking for one. We're headed 1 floor up towards the bar and gaming room. Now, this is a site where, specifically NA, when Chalet just got reintroduced towards the map pool, was able to dissect European defenses perfectly whilst not really suffering to the same extent. So, their defenses usually over bar and gaming are really good.
Rexon, will he get lucky? Will they drift their way in? Doesn't seem like he's going to stick around and find out, actually. I think he wanted to get a very early catch here. He's moved himself onto piano window, I believe, as the pressure's tucked in. There is everything that Gio wants to do to try and hold on to that top corner. It becomes a bit of a lockdown here on the second story. You have to clear out that corner player and see if you can at least get the kill on the way through the door. You're not going to get it with grenades, but you might get a catch on an angle. Then you got to deal with the player at the top of the fireplace, and then you got to see if you can try and push down the stairs. It's starting quite wide here for Black Dragons. They're going to initialize themselves with that double door open, but most of the pressure towards Trophy on the far end.
Again, just trying to find some early wins here, Black Dragons, using that utility to get rid of other utilities, so the floors drones, to get rid of banshees, to get rid of barbed wire, maybe even magnets or ADSs if you're lucky, just so you make it easier for yourself once you do need to push through in the dying couple of seconds of that round. So a minute has passed, and right now Black Dragons members are starting to enter the building as they need to pressure onto the mezzanines and onto the library itself, but Grixer, still being below, is going to be finding himself in a gunfight with Nate soon if he didn't push out just in time.
That's it. Look at Soniqs. They're just peeling away. They're reevaluating the pressure that they've got at minute 30, and they've forced Black Dragons into a wide clear. They forced them to pay attention towards the entirety of the map itself, and Soniqs are still unscathed pretty much from it. Rexon, the only man to take damage, and that was by his own hand, ramadashing. They still have, as I said, the control over the verticality. Gunnar is still locked in here, and he might be the first point of problems. They've got themselves tacked onto the balcony. There's still not the angle and the support. It's a dangerous 1 versus 1 to just take, especially when you know that there's a cross window towards the top of blue stairs. There's the swing from box as well, which is the option you take, Black Dragons.
And the floor is about to be pushing through here. They know someone's going to be on that big pillar, but also someone inside the library. Takes a small amount of damage, but nothing too big to worry about. Yeah, Iron is going to be holding off that angle, hoping to punish the player if they lean back into the fight, but it's not quite happening as of yet. Gunnar goes down. Rexon is well aware of the player on the balcony, but gets shut down by the big window of press.
That's it, the cross angles. I talked about it before. The blinds come across the board, and suddenly BD is in and on and around. Gunnar's gone down on fireplace as well. Should be an easy pickup, and there it is. Now they've got to drop and see if they can get the kit down. 25 seconds. And Gio has gone for the rotate towards Snowmo underneath. Grixer wants to retake, misses the man, misses the opportunity. One more for Black Dragons, 15 seconds. It's the back line of Kansan to do something massive here. There's another swing of the E1D. Knows they've taken the drop, and Bassetto's going for the plant. Can't quite get the angle. Knows it's being watched. What route do you take? Unfortunately, none that leads to success. Gio at least gets 1, and there's 2. 3 was too many. Black Dragons get the second round.
didn't actually realize that a jump in was happening. Otherwise, Kenzen might have been able to do something from that supply line earlier, drop that diffuser, really make them stressed for time. But it's going to be Black Dragons that equalize that scoreline with a very well executed attack. They isolated those players. They set up those long angles. So if one stepped just out of line from the Soniqs, you were able to pick them up within a heartbeat. So well done by Black Dragons. That lands them their first attacking round on their way for more though.
First round, back and forth. Hey, B-Stream seems to have a bit of a habit of this, and you know, Black Dragons, if we're talking about how important it is for Soniqs to get points from this game, and it is, Black Dragons want to get a full fat win. They want to try and match the pace that a lot of the other Latin American teams have been able to do. They want to make sure that they're sitting pretty towards the top of the group, especially with M&M being able to do it against this roster. Even if, let's just say, based on the results from earlier on, that M&M and Black Dragons are the teams in first and second, the fact that the other one was able to pull full points from this team, if you're not able to, then second becomes less a opportunity, but more an unfortunate guarantee when you should be wanting first.
Axton go for a bit of an attempt at a spawn peek here, but went off just as a player would have appeared onto the heli platform. It's not going to be finding any early opening here on either Nate or Besetto. Unless they fall back, unless we still have 10 players in game. It's a sense, by the way, making an appearance.
Love them.
Together with Glass. On this map.
On this map, Sens, love them. They can just drive takes. There's drone holes, there's angles, there's positions, especially on this site. The drone hole Perez is drifting close to that I know you want to talk about.
Now, I was actually going to say, the one counter towards the Sens light screen is going to be impact grenades or explosives.
Yep.
If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, there's none left.
Nada.
So they will stay up. You'll just have to fire through and hope for the best, because there's also no mute. And that basically just like doubles the value of these light screens.
Soniqs, they're a little bit cautious, but they're trying to make sure that they still stand up close towards the lines that they built. They'll hear the air jabs going off. That buys them a second here for Ion's going to just drone out ahead and get some clarity and know they're not going to get swung on the ping on the piano player. The second right on the door of the balcony. And they'll fall back. This is what I'm talking about. It's caution. They want to make sure they're not instantly punished by it. Besetto now knows he can get this clean and clear as anything. Nothing's going to stop it, and the breach over the top happens. It's part one of a two-part story. The second is the first story, and he's instantly there as well.
The thing is, with that breach, they know no one is going to be playing up right above it because it is kind of a suicide position, and they have it. Toxic is going to get ready. He's wanting to use that light screen, roll it through that drone hole. The glass will be covering from the main stairs all the way through it, basically making it impossible to stop this plant, except if you have a C4. Didn't fully come through. Smoke canisters and grenades coming in, though. The plant is coming through. Gunner takes a small amount of damage there, and it's going to be 45 seconds soon to be on the clock. A perfect execute.
I mean, we called it, we said it, and it was done without anything being done against them. It's a fight over the top in the second story. Black Dragons win out 2 of them. Ion does go down in at least the trade situation. But Nade might be able to creep his way back round. He's concerned about an instant retake. Grix is trying to find the fight on the back end. The glass is down, which is at least a boon towards the fight on the smoke. Gunner's able to get one. Doesn't get the pickup player there. Keeps the body balance into the favor of Black Dragons. They've got verticality to worry about. They've got the players on the swing to worry about. There's 2 on the door, 1 high, 1 low. Can't fully connect. Black Dragons, they demonstrated how to do a plant and a take without really so much as a whiff from Soniqs.
How often have we seen Sens being played in EUL and in APAC North, and we've just hoped for a perfect execute to just be shown? So, for example, Fresh and our guest analysts could do a bit of a know-how siege on how to do those executes. Never does it work. This is the perfect execute for Sens. You open up those walls, the wall above first, so there's no verticality to threaten you. You open up the wall below, you get in those light screens, you go in for the plant with a glass to overwatch for you. Nothing that the defenders could do. Unless they had C4s, unless they had impacts, but they had none. So everything just lined up for Black Dragons.
I just love that you said fresh and guests.
Well, I mean, it's basically fresh and guests.
Just because his team is fresh and friends. Yes. I just like the idea of his work being fresh and guests. And then at home, it's fresh and family.
He's always kind of different circles that way.
He just defines them. He's a defining man. All right. We rotate our way background down to Snowmobile.
Yep.
Down to see if this can, I guess, be the repeat here of Soniqs getting around. They can tie things back up, get themselves 2 for 2. They want to try and do as much distance and difference on this, the first half, the defense side, because we know what happened earlier on.
Yeah, for sure, and they managed to get a win here the earlier time around. Again, the mirror window will be placed in the same position to hold on to that lobby a little bit, but Black Dragons, they will have learned from that as well. More than likely, will be putting up some extra pressure. I mean, look at that. Perez is bringing out these Twitch drones. It's going to be able to just quickly zap that mirror window out of existence, and after that, well, it's going to be quite easily to open up those hatches to start working on the control you want to have in your hands. Now, as we continue, player in pantry, player above as well. Drones are gathering that information slowly but steadily. And as the Soniqs are falling back bit by bit, it is followed by Black Dragons taking more and more ground and putting up the pressure.
Oh, there was a bit of a bite there, and the E1D is going to quickly come round to just make sure that that isn't something that's followed up. Soniqs are a great gun team, and you have to give a bit of control back towards that play and towards that player. There's a taste, there's a stretch, and there's an angle and an idea, but once again, we're seeing this change-up from Black Dragons. They have an appreciation for what Soniqs did before. They know it didn't work, so instead, they're going to go for the same breach as before, but the shape is generally different. Ooh.
It's going to be a good nitro. Taking up Perez is going to be crucial in that case. Snowmobile has been opened up. There is still utility left on Black Dragons, but they're still afraid of players around onto the first and second floor. Now the pantry has been cleared. It's been taken under control by Ian. He's gonna see if they can make anything happen from that position onwards. Quite heavily an aggressive play coming out from the blue stairs by Soniqs, but no Black Dragons mapping it from above. Oh, the C4 coming out. Oh, makes this job a whole lot easier now.
It was, yeah, it was quite a dangerous gambit to sort of say, oh, I can take this from above because of this. It's all soft. It's a revenge and a response they can make. The mirror gets popped, but it could have been your life if the C4 was just, you know, half a foot towards a different side. And there's still 30 seconds in the main site itself to try and put the breach onto. Nate takes a bit of damage on the swing round. Gio's got himself stacked up and rocked as he turned round. Gunner finds one on the break-in. Bassetto gets 2 of his own. Gunner and Kansan gone. The fight onto blue. Patoxi's down. Bassetto's going to see if he can get the plant down as Ian Zero puts all of the damage down himself. And there it is, 45 seconds. Plant in the same place it went last time. They made it work. They broke the mirror window and they pulled themselves out. It's a rotate, though. Over onto the side of the stairs. The important fight inside. There's the bulletproof that's giving a bit of the read. They just see the tail end of the player. Rexon with the swing round. They want to capitalize on one, but where is the second is the big question. They lose a very important fight. The pre-fire, the hammer hits, sees the head of one. They just see the same thing, and it's Ion to get the last one. Black Dragons get the plant for the 4th round in a row and find their 3rd on the back of it.
Just a bunch of DMRs shooting at one another after that. But a tactical timeout will be called by Soniqs. They are going to have a little chat about what's going wrong because they've just lost 3 rounds in a row. And you mentioned it before, 4 plans happening. No matter what, Black Dragons is going to be able to make the plan stick. Now, 3 of those rounds, they have been able to convert it into a round win. So far, Black Dragons really looking strong against Soniqs here.
It's some very clean attacks. I think that's the main thing here. What I love to see, and you'll see it on teams where sometimes it's very apparent and sometimes it's a little bit of a mystery what they're doing on their attacks. How they're bringing pieces together. We complimented the Sens take because it was a by-the-book take that we all know and can explain, but it's rare to see it done well. It's sort of similar lessons across all of these attacks. It's why they're so consistent with the plant. They know where they need to be. They know what each other is doing, and they know the holds that they want. They're not looking for full map control. They're not even really looking for arguments. They're looking to do enough to buy room for Bassetto to get in on the back of doing the thermites. What we are seeing here is almost something that you would see at the beginning of Siege Comp. A thermite main doing what a thermite main does. Somewhere, Ace of Pyrite is very happy.
He's very proud.
He is like, I'm Bassetto.
Do you know how many plans Bassetto had over CE6?
No.
CE6? Do you? I do. You can take a guess.
I'm going to guess low.
Multiple choice.
Oh, yeah, give me that.
All right, so it's A, 10.
Yeah.
Right. B, 18.
Okay.
C, 23. Or D, 30 plus.
I'm going to go 23.
Yes, 23.
All right.
For BR6 and CE6. So
It's a huge number.
it's massive, and with that, he's also one of the top planters in the world at this moment in time. But it shows how effective this gameplay can be still, even in this meta.
It's the fundamentals, and it's done perfectly. It's tough to play against because the fundamentals become the fundamentals for the reason that they are consistent and reliable. If you can nail them, teams have won championships off the back of having the fundamentals down for a wider map pool. Map pool is also another important aspect and what generally gets stressed when you get out of groups. But here on Chalet, Black Dragons have the fundamentals nailed.
Especially in the attack so far, they do indeed. There's little to actually mention. And even if they're a man down, they're still able to get back into it because of these fundamentals, because of the plant-oriented playstyle. They get that diffuser down on the ground, suddenly Soniqs, they need to retake and get out of the comfortable zone they were playing in. And it's exactly what they're aiming for. So with, well, only 2 more rounds to go for Black Dragons onto their attack, are we going to see 2 more plants? That's a big question.
That's it. And, you know, as I said before, they're also clearing the space well enough. They're just getting it locked down. For example, the last time they were here, they broke open box and forced the players off of it, but then didn't push for the fight like a lot of other teams do that will try and push them further back all the way towards the very back line and the plant room here in the wonderful solarium. Instead, they just said, okay, now let's focus on the site. Let's play the Sens and get the plant down. Soniqs, on the other hand, they're still trying to piece together some of that luck. Here's a change. Kansan has bought the man with the glasses. He's going to make sure that they're not able to do the same play twice. They're not going for exactly the same play, obviously. There's no Sens. There is still Smokes, there is still Paceto, and there is still Perez on the glass. Hasn't had the best time, but it just takes a second to score.
And even if you do not get the kills, it is still going to be a DMR that takes about at least half of worth for the HP of the defender you're shooting at, easying them up for the other players that are on your team. Now, Kansan is playing with those glasses. You mentioned it before. They brought him in ever since round 4 to stop any of these executes to happen.
Maestro bubbles as well. I'm not sure if that one's new. I'm trying to remember back now.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, it definitely didn't haunt them the last
I think it's new. Grixer. That's something new. They're able to get the first kill, something that's sort of evaded them for a while. Takes care of Eye on the Nomad, that flank watch. We heard a couple of those air jabs already deployed. They have some idea, some control, and some lockdown, but from that, otherwise, what can you do behind it? They're a bit cautious this time. I think Soniqs are making more of a flat statement, and it's going to come to that. Patoxy hops up, hops over, and takes care of Kansan, and they flood the site itself. Suddenly they're in, and they're in deeper than I think they expected. They're watching the swing round. They're looking for the fight. They can't find the angle. Nade finds Gunner, though, and there's the drop from above. Nade gets the lockdown. The Maestro bubble cannot do enough. Rexon does a bit more, but it's a post-plant. Basetto is merely a memory at this point, and once again does everything a Thermite main dreams of. There is a huge LMG bursting its way through onto the site. Geo swinging which way and every way, but they still have vertical. Nade, the important player right now. 2 kills from before. Patoxy's down on the far end. He might be able to call a bit of movement, but this is the most important one. The man's on the kit. He's off. They're watching, waiting. Nade's going to see if he can get a bit of a strike here. He looks. He finds one. Pulls himself back in. His 3rd for the round. Rexon cannot get off the kit, and it's over this round. He tried to dabber with the fight, but verticality wins out.
Again, focusing on the plant, and let's just highlight Basetto a little bit more. 5 kills, 5 plants after 5 rounds. He's literally positive on anything you can ask for on a Heartbreach, even more than that. So he's really a driving factor in here. Even though he died right after he got that plan down, the rest of his team was ready to pick up the pieces afterwards. And well, it is just very scary to play against if you are Soniqs at this moment in time. Just that first round he managed to win. After that, everything kind of slips away. So let's see if they can find a second. We said this before, they kind of need to. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in a really tough second half of Chalet.
I mean, if they get the planter ace, which is you get a plant every single round.
Yeah.
I know that's technically 6 rather than the 5 of an ace, but...
Well, I mean, an ace technically means killing the entire team, right?
Yeah, planting the entire half.
Yeah, half.
I'm happy to call that a plant ace. You don't really see him.
You don't really see him, no. It's rare that you see every single round ending with a plant. And it is definitely happening here. And it's not like, you know, it's a 4v1 and whilst the other are off hunting down that last player, you're going down for that plant.
Oh, no doubt. It's a team effort.
It's literally focused around that.
Yeah. Do not get us wrong when we're talking about how important that plant role is, because it is. It's the fact that the rest of the roster is doing all the work to clear that space and making sure they don't overexert and they do not forget about the Thermite main, who actually this time around has dabbled with the idea of Candelas and the Ying. They know it's going to be a bit of a short and sharp swing. And to be fair, of all the sites, this is the one that Thermite really does the least in terms of bringing that drive. There can still be some bits of hard destruction, but mainly it's a bit of a flat fight and a quick jump in that I think they might want to try and dabble in with them Candelas.
That's it, right? You need to get library under control, and the next big part is going to be the pantry, the supply line that you need to take within your own hands. Once you remove those players, like Brest removes Gunner, things become a whole lot easier. He actually went for a bit of a jump out from a Harry Potter window that was looking over. Okay. Well, I mean, you went for it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but that's going to be putting Black Dragons in an even better position right now.
That's it. The first body goes against them. They're going for this awareness. They're still not overextending. They're making sure it's sort of pace for pace. And, you know, the Echo might be something that Geo can play a bit further on a stretch. If they're a team that does like to flood themselves into the site and try and get the kit down, it buys you an opportunity. It's not something that they've had to directly check for before, and it could at least buy you a bit more time. It's often that Geo is still alive when a plant is being applied, and utilizing that, maybe he can do something different that just shakes Black Dragon's planting machine.
The thing is, though, Black Dragons is always very well aware of what's happening, what's needing to happen. So as soon as they realize there's going to be an Echo and Yokai's about, they'll make sure to either isolate the players or get rid of those drones before they actually want to get that plant in. They don't really put Basetto in any much risk if he is forced to put down that plant. There's always cover. Everything is always taken care of for him.
Now, the Candelas, they're going to try and pop their way around over the top, blind the man on the stairs. The second is going to roll itself deeper. Kansan, he gets taken down. That could have been huge, but it doesn't quite have the connection. Rexon escapes, gets the drop down onto the bar itself, but with a flash and a flood, they've taken top floor. 40 seconds to see if they can take the site itself as well.
It's going to be a 2-on-5 situation because Geo has removed himself from the playing field. He's put himself in the basement so he can play with the Yokai drones. And of course, there's 35 seconds left on the clock. Those Yokai drones could be the decisive factor, but you kind of need people out here to pressure out onto those attackers because you're going to be overwhelmed in just a matter of time.
Now, can they get the drop? Can they get one more kit planted onto the ground itself? Basetto, he's going for the cover of that. The blinds come through. The grenade and the team kill. Oh no, Ion! You deny the man the statistic. Rexon gets revenge in this final round. Nade's going to see if he can stick it. An Echo drone watches Rexon claim the round, and Soniqs get their second from the back of a rarely seen mistake on an execute.
The unfortunate team kill there was supposed to be suppressive fire or maybe even live fire towards the player on the supply line, but accidentally caught Basetto into the cross angles, and that means he's not going to get his plantate. It's not going to be a 6 plant for Black Dragons. There was another member that tried to correct that mistake, but it was too little too late. It didn't have control of the supply line. We mentioned it before, library first, supply line second. That's the 2 power positions you need to take care of if you want to make a plant stick. One of them was not under control, and instantly Soniqs is able to win a round.
I guess that's kind of fitting for a Thermite main to suffer on the edge of greatness and team killed.
Yeah.
Every Thermite main watching this went, yeah, that's about right. That's how, yeah, I get it. It's still a 4-2 half, a 4-2 half in their attack. Whether that mistake was the make or break, it would have caused a bit more work there for Rexon to have to do, because then the planter would have had a bit of cover. He was able to win out 2 kills in that exact space afterwards, but it was then, instead of being a 2 versus 1 with 1 planting, 1 covering, 3 very quick, don't get me wrong, but 3 technical 1 versus 1s.
Yeah, and of course, you know, even if the team kill didn't came through, there was still going to be the Yokai stopping that plant from happening, temporarily putting the head up, allowing Krixer to go in for that kill. So, you know, it probably would have ended into a round for the Soniqs, even if that team kill wouldn't have happened due to the supply line still being in their control. And that leads us to this 2-4. Black Dragons is still leading now. Over to the defense they go, as the Soniqs will have to approach attack. Once again, Doing that quickly. Sending out some RC Retiros to get rid of utility, mainly going to be the Banshees early on, maybe find a bulletproof camera on the way there, or a shield if you're finding yourself lucky. But they do need to go to that top floor. And that shield, I believe Gunnar has seen it. I think he took out a bulletproof camera that was placed there. You heard the EMP dart to be shot, unfortunately not hitting the RC Retiro, which meant it destroyed itself.
The burn on the gates, the pressure on the back end. They knew Patoxy was holding one angle. It's got a shorter route to travel from this side, and there's the break on the shield itself. It'll give them a little bit more that they can approach, but it wasn't a very aggressively played shield. Usually you'll maybe see that onto piano, sometimes even the half wall around the door bathroom. Here it's just the job's done a bit sooner, and they do have another one around the half wall anyway.
I mean, it was played earlier on. Like when the first RC Retero popped, it was being played. However, due to library being taken under control by Soniqs, you suddenly do not have the same form of freedom and security anymore. So that's why they fell back. That's why they abandoned the shield, forced them to use an RC Retero in its process, which means that's one less to worry about. Important to mention, Perez down below. Same goes for Iron. They have an opportunity to rotate back up or toss up a C4 to really stop this plan from happening.
Ooh, Patoxy gets the long range and Gunnar finds Basetto in the mix of it. They're at least able to get an instant bit of revenge. The smoke's gone. We saw at least 2 canisters used. There may have been one more in pocket, and with 57 seconds, that's a bit of a breath of fresh air for Soniqs. Oh. There it is removed though. Patoxy and Rexon and Kanzin get an instant response. It might turn into Patoxy having to drive this entire round. Nade is still alive. On the far end, they've got a bit of a backline. They're not going to risk that fight, and fair enough. Kanzin removes the player without having to have him remove your head. The last pinged. They're well aware of where he is. They've just got to try and lock down the kit and see if they can get it planted. Caught on a drone and none to spare. He's caught out almost on the swing from the door itself. Rexon stops it in time, but Soniqs find their 3rd round, 2nd in a row.
And it allows them to close up that gap just ever so slightly towards Black Dragons. And whilst I mentioned that before, Black Dragons are in a good position. They have side control. They still have 2 roamers up on the board, and Patoxy able to find 2 kills themselves as well. It didn't last. The roamers were taken out quite quickly after that. And that basically opened the entire round for Soniqs to try and work with. There was information then onto Patoxy. The grenade followed, took him out as well. And suddenly it is going to be finding him in a 1v3 situation, which is, even with how Black Dragons have been gunning altogether, almost impossible to win for a single player.
Soniqs, suddenly from things looking a bit dire in the first half, as it was your earlier showing on Chalet, you might be able to bullet back even here on your attack. Chalet is a good attacker map. There's no 2 ways about it. The reason that we were concerned about that first half is how their first game on this map went. They had to sort of do a bit of a distance just to prove that they could keep the fight on. To be honest, it could have very easily been a 5-1. It would have been a 5-2 now, but that looks a lot worse than a 4-3.
I definitely would have. And this is doable for Soniqs, especially if they maintain the composure they have just shown onto their attack, where they stayed calm, still dealt with the roamers that were starting to come up and put some pressure, whilst making sure the site was being approached as well. Now library is going to be the first focus point. We are back in bar and gaming, and I mentioned it in round 6. You need to take care of library, and then you need to take care of the supply line. And Iron is going to be that first hurdle. He's going to be playing into the corner of library where you often see grenades to be used to dispatch these players. If teams even struggle with that, that's when they start going towards a Capita, for example. Put incendiary bolts onto the mix. Now Iron will drop. He will first use a magnet though. So if they do toss in a grenade, it would be called off. But if just droned it out, they know the position is going to be clear, so there's no more utility that needs to be expended to get rid of the player out there.
Nade gets the opener here. Takes care of Grixer and puts that little bit of pressure back on towards the side here of Soniqs. They got to make sure that every moment counts. They want to try and catch up. That's the important. Set up the second site is going to be one that, instead of being a possibility of taken, becomes more of a consistency. The pressure over the top, the Twitch drone able to get in and get destructive. Look at this territory just cleared out. They haven't decided to try and fight it for as long as Soniqs did. The drop is over the top. Kanzin, he's going to start sledging away. towards the angle, put the pressure onto it. They're just trying to fish. There is a rotate on the far end, though. A single Black Dragons player has made their way up towards Solarium. They're going to see if they can try and creep themselves around, and Gunnar, in the meantime, takes care of Nade.
There's a second player potentially being out there, though. Gunnar takes down Perez as well, and suddenly the side is starting to open up a bit much. Has come back. He's going to be playing the supply line now, but they need to be careful to not lose another player, because supply line is going to be, as mentioned before, that last stronghold that Black Dragons have to make sure that this turns into a victorious round.
Gunnar's holding on. Waits for the swing, and the swing comes and is punished. Basetto, he wanted to try and get a bit of revenge, but it's just a third name added to the bodies Gunnar has taken. Suddenly they have more than just a man advantage, and they got a chance to go for the drop, but the final step is the toughest. There's a fight with the Twitch drone that's drawing some attention. They slip their way through. It's Gunnar with a quad. Can he try and cement maybe the first ace of the tournament? It is! Gunnar locks it down, brings Soniqs level, and starts maybe a bit of a better story for NA in this group.
That is going to be equaling the score, and that is what Soniqs need if they want to go for a victory here. Instant tactical timeout to be called by Black Dragons. They need 45 to quickly have that chat, because things are starting to slip away. And now, Soniqs are able to look forward to potentially securing themselves a point, maybe even picking up 2 or a full-fledged victory after the ace we've just seen from Gunnar, who, by the way, he had been quite quiet before this round. Only 3 kills. They managed to put 5 more to the tally and win that round single-handedly almost. Of course, there was support from his teammates with openings being made, flushing other, Black Dragons members back towards vulnerable positions, but he eventually added all those names to his tally.
I'm finding out if that was the first ace.
It's good to check.
I'm running the numbers. Obviously, we cannot watch every single game. We're casting
whilst games happen.
Whilst games are happening. I'm hoping. We have Sprabuni and Wrath, the wonderful statisticians, up in our talent room.
Talent support. We have our own
Tippy tapping away. Yeah, Fresh is busy co-streaming.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Milos and Anna gallivanting in Europe, probably also watching. I don't know, are they co-streaming?
I think Anne has co-streaming, right? I'm not sure if Milos is co-streaming.
Okay. Either way, the analysts that we have here to support are woeful caster bodies. Sprabuni and Wrath. So, I'll let you know. I called it as the first. I think it was, but I might be wrong.
See the Castle Elite gadget skins to come in. The dogs are being put in the map. Just a bit of a different texture for us. As we're, of course, playing down in the kitchen and in the dining area. Now, this is the site where we saw the, for me, first ever perfect use of sense and an execute on the back of it. Soniqs not running that. Instead, going for the library hole first. Want to be clearing out that top floor nice and steadily before they are headed down towards the kitchen and the dining area. It's the right way to go at it, usually, right? You want to get top floor control, you want to get verticality established, and after that you start headed towards the site itself.
4-4 over the top. Now they're going to see if they can, see if they can build on the back of it. They've got themselves a lead. They've got themselves a good bit of energy, and they've got themselves pressure that they can apply now onto Black Dragons. They're forcing movement, forcing positioning. And I think forcing Black Dragons to be a little bit cautious. It was a late execute before, and they did lose the entrance. But, obviously, an ace is always a huge play. How many of it was them trying to fight their way back up on the rotation that Gunnar just won out? Was it swings towards the site, or was it like the third kill we saw?
That's it. It's always a bit of a question mark, which we will not be able to answer until the replay files. So, Soniqs putting up the pressure on the top floor now, starting to open up the wall towards the half wall. In the meantime, up onto the balcony, trying to put some pressure down onto the bathroom as Soniqs is trying to figure out, is it clear on this top floor? Now, there's some castle barricades that need to be taken care of and will be taken care of. And 8-9, they will be in the solarium there, just holding, hoping to find themselves an entry. In a bit of a crossfire. Shields down there as well, but they have been abandoned. Could be used by any of the attackers sneaking through. That's a grenade that pops up from below. Dealt a lot of damage.
Old
Not getting a
nades.
kill.
Old nades, that would have been 2 kills.
That would have been 2 kills with the previous nades. That is correct. Gunnar will find the entry either way. Iron gets taken down, and well, Nate is left with 5 HP to try and hold on to the top floor with everything he has.
Gunnar 6 kills in a row. Now can he see if he can try and add on to the end of that tally? The hop round and the control over the back end. Nade, as he said, he's going to see if he can hold on. His position's revealed, and it's dangerous to play with only a flicker of health, so instead drops down. They're going to watch for the rotate. They're going to hold the angle. Basetto is making sure that nobody goes for a bit of a hot hop and a root round. There will be bullet marks in the broken floor to sort of say a statement that maybe someone's around this area. The breach in the angle, a little bit more room to play. Basetto does not quite have the connection with that and instead roots himself back towards the site. But 20 seconds left on the board. The angles are coming through. Nade goes down. Perez suffers as well. Grixer and Rexon, one apiece, and they're inside the site. They just have to try and connect the kit, and that is that last step. A 5 versus 2, a 5 versus 1. Patoxy gets one on the back end, but no more. Soniqs, from a 4-1 deficit, they lead 5-4.
They've been able to put quite a couple of rounds in a row there, and as you saw right there, they just pulled the trigger. They realized, okay, there's only a couple inside, there is some off, we can just go, we have that numbers advantage, we need to utilize it as the time was ticking down, and they did so well. This is the confidence that might have been lacking in the game before, and they've definitely shown that they are capable of competing with Black Dragons here. Now, Black Dragons, they will be worried because they want to pick up some good points from this game. They might start losing out on some here.
I mean, that's...
They don't slip anymore.
It's dangerous. I said about it before. I was like, Black Dragons, with how that first game went, they wanted to make sure they got the full points. I do not know how the game on the other stream is going, but if M&M are able to...
delays, so it's definitely not going to be done yet.
Well, if M&M are able to get the full points on that, that puts so much pressure on the other teams in this group.
It does, and it's also going to be removing a lot from M&M, who, you know, I've always had my question marks with them because they do okay in the league. They sometimes struggle to get to the majors, but after that, it's not just connecting right the same way as it did in the European League. However, their opening game looked really strong, and I'm really looking forward to see what else they can bring against, for example, Black Dragons, which would be the only team to still play at after this game. Still playing against Cyclops as we speak.
All right, Soniqs, you've built more than enough momentum now. Can you just push this onto map point? You found resilience, and you found a much better performance here onto Chalet. Black Dragons, they've been a bit quiet in the most recent swing of rounds. Now that they're not driving the momentum and able to do those pitch-perfect executes they had before, they've suffered on the back end of it. Patoxy's going to see if he can try and get the lead in. It's droned heavily, though. There is the extension of Perez. This time he wasn't quite in this position. They didn't have a second player able to offer some support towards Patoxy's position, who actually rotates out. They think, well, a minute's wasted and the pressure's going to start coming. Let's get out of there. Perez does the same.
Yeah, they don't want to stick around. They don't want to give away the entries towards Sonic, so they just need to be a bit fluid here. Maybe throw something up the spanner here. Make sure that you are able to distract the Sonics or even come in at a moment they do not expect. And we've talked about it before, when they sent 2 roamers down towards the bottom floor, that should have been the decisive factor, but as they pushed up, they got shut down, and as Patoxy now finds Kanzen, that is a much-needed entry for Black Dragons.
It is something that they've sort of been eyeing up for a long time, but it wouldn't be the first time Patoxy's got an entrance and the rest of the round starts to fall away from them. Pressure onto the balcony, and Grixer gets revenge. Within that sort of 7-second window, can they build behind it? There's the next, though, and it's Gunnar that falls. Nade with the swing right onto the window, and they find themselves still slightly on the back foot. Nade did suffer in the scrap and the engagement. A minute on, though, and he has time to breathe and rebuild. The smoke canisters stop the approach directly onto the balcony. Grix is eyeing up the back line to see if he can get a catch and a whiff. There's the camera, the reveal. They expected a player behind it. The C4 from Ion just makes the connection. There's the next, though, with an SMG. Black Dragons, they're not ready to go to map point. They want this to be tied again.
They want us to tie it up, and that's exactly what we do, and that means it is going to be a shootout for this next round. 11. Whoever wins it will take a point and has the opportunity to fight for 3. Whoever who loses it is going to be having the opportunity to fight for overtime instead. Also, after the Sonics have won 5 rounds in a row, this was actually the 6th round in a row where Black Dragons managed to get the entry kill on their side, Emmy. But every single time in the last 5 rounds, it fell away from them, except for this one. And that's exactly what they need. See if they can repeat that now on Bar and Gaming. Different side, which did come down to Gunnar, of course, putting down that ace on the board.
I still haven't got a response from Mr. Sprabuni.
He's checking every single VOD now to find out.
Well, he's just been sat there watching all day.
That is true.
I would love to ask the other casters. Some of them are casting. They're probably
won't be answering. Right?
And they haven't seen other games. They can't talk about. I can only talk about the games we've
Well,
watched.
that's it, right? Like they can also talk about the games they've watched. So that gives us the opportunity to deduct whether or not it was the only info.
I'm just gonna say it was.
For now, it was. Until it's the Schrodinger's first ace of the tournament.
Maybe I'll ask Fresh.
Maybe he knows. 5-5 though, Black Dragons still on looking for a point because they were victorious against Cyclops, picking up 2 points in the process. It wasn't a full-fledged one as Raxon gets in very quickly into Solarium, gets spotted out though, they know he's there. Can Black Dragons regroup to take him out early?
That's it. There's always that sort of debate of do you try and swing out of position and punish a player early? No. Perez gets caught out there. Inside trophy, the swing wide on the window from Grixer, and they lose the Malusi early on at this point. There's the tuck and the hold towards the top of the site itself, but the player lost on the other side of the map without so much as a whiff properly of that gunfight. It's going to be a little bit of a blow here. Grixer is weighing up what to take and only really sees the Banshee, so drops that instead. The next will be around here. Gunner's holding onto the angle, hoping Patoxy drifts in. He's been very good at these fights so far, but so has Gunner. How wide do you go?
It's a big question. They're a man down. They need to take a risk somewhere to bring it back to equal numbers. To let time play in your favor, because as long as Soniqs is having the man advantage, they will be able to muscle that into a round victory. Something you want to prevent at this point in the game. With this round, we'll decide who picks up a point at least and has the opportunity to fight for 3. With some Excaliburs used, now Iron has the opportunity to shoot those out, so it is going to be a bit more safe for Patoxy playing onto the mezzanines. But it does give away his position. Raxon coming in right now from the piano hallway, gets smoked out, is forced backwards. Soniqs struggling to find the opening they need. Might just actually eye up going for the site directly.
Oh, there's a bit of a drift round. Nade's doing everything to sort of make a statement and say this window is not a safe passage to pass on. It's been a long time since that first body was taken out, and since then, the spray through does not quite connect. And Black Dragons have been able to keep Soniqs at a bit of an arm's length. They've locked in. Kansan does find the next, and that's your backline player. Nade's gone. Basetto's going to see if he can lean back in. The shotgun pop locked and ready to lock and load. Round on the corner, the swing, the player's gone. The next comes from a side he didn't expect, but he's still able to lock out the kill and retreats before revenge can be had. Lucky timing and positioning is what this game is built on, and there is another kill built upon it.
Trying to rotate through, Iron is going to get taken down, though. That's going to be the library that has now fallen into the hands of Soniqs, leaving it only up to 2 Black Dragons members who need to hold on to this side if they want to be picking up a point, but that's a player spotted out. It's only up to Patoxy now in a 1v4. Is he going to be able to clutch this out? The drops are coming through. The pressure is from every single one side. Raxon finds it, wins it. 6-5 for Soniqs.
6-5. They're the first team to make it to map point, but a distance of only 1 is not insurmountable. It is now down for the pressure onto Black Dragons. Soniqs are so close to really dragging themselves back into the fight here. Sure, they may have dropped points earlier on, but suddenly Black Dragons' win of only 2 turns into a bad day at the office.
Have we seen any plant yet from Soniqs? I mean, we've seen some attempts that ended because last kill came through, but I don't think we've actually seen a plant. I mean, there is 2 ticks on the objective marks right there, but those are the defuses, I think, that happened. No, one was a defuse, the other one must have been a plant attack hex. I'm just trying to remember, because I do not recall the plants on Soniqs' side.
No, I'm the same.
I think there's one.
If there was a plant, it happened very late in the water. It happened as things...
Mandy's just brought in...
Mandy snuck in. But by sneaking, just
She's also
stared at us.
backing out of the room right
Just
now.
crouched, stared at us, smiling.
She's not crouching, she's just
Like,
small.
she's just small. Okay. That's why she has the box. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Need it for beat stream.
Yeah, I mean, needs it. Maybe if we just get her some platform shoes.
It's a very high.
Like, you know, like those old, like, disco shoes with, like, goldfish in?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Yeah. Familiar with the fish shoes.
Maybe that works.
Okay, Soniqs 6-5. This could be a huge moment here for them to just lock in some much needed and precious points. Black Dragons, they're in this situation earlier today. The team that they were up against were on this exact position, and they forced you OT and they won it. They could replicate the same thing, but losing the full fat points twice, I mean, it's a bit of a blow. That's almost a whole game's worth of points dropped in this engagement. Soniqs, they want to see if they can get the lead in. They want to see if they can get that first bite of success.
That's it. They want to get those full 3 points after missing out on them against M&M. Any point, it doesn't matter. High and aggressive around Solarium again. This is where Grenade popped earlier and almost took out 2 players from Black Dragons. This time they are a bit more spread out. Nate is having some concrete underneath his feet. He's not going to be blown up by a grenade, at least not from below. If it comes through the door, however, that's a different story. Doesn't spun out himself and now falling back. They are wanting to hold onto the top floor, but not at any given cost. They need to make sure that Soniqs work themselves through it slowly but steadily.
Ion holding off, hoping somebody drifts just a bit wide into the firefight here if he can take somebody by surprise. A lot of time has ticked itself away now at this point. They're still trying to see if there's just a semblance of a remaining player here. Nate is there to offer some support as well. It's a bit of a cross angle. There's some width coming through, but Perez and Bassetto are underneath, still locked in. And they're ready with a shotgun to catch any loose player.
Want to make sure they hold on. That's a jump in from the Yana clone. The Gemini replicator taken out. Yana might follow soon, though. It's Ion also putting in some shots, gets taken down. That means that Nate is now solely responsible for keeping on to the top floor. He finds one, but instantly taken out afterwards.
Bassetto underneath pops the trap, and Gunner pops one right back. It has been blow for blow here on this round, and with 30 seconds, you can see Patoxy going for a big rotate. He has to get somewhere he can offer some contribution, but he cannot risk losing his life to a wide take. He's waiting for the moment when there's not much time left to try and change up the idea. They're holding off the route the plant's going to make their way through on. Grixer has to win this fight inside Trophy. The kit rotates the hatch. Patoxy gets that rotate round, and Grixer's covering, watching. There's the first fight. It almost goes away from him. The second ensures the plant goes down. There is just one separating Soniqs here from the 3 points, and 2 Perez from the fight for more. They're dug in, tucked themselves round on the kitchen side. The big rotate to the top floor. The verticality to find this plant. Last time, it's not needed. Rexon cements in that final kill, and Soniqs